support each other, how you can work together. Now there is going to be a video playing. It's not directed at any of you, but the reason we're trying to record the event is for the small business owners who can't get out today. So we thought we'd make that available. So we've got David here from the Community Constable to talk to you about some of the trends and what they're seeing in crime and how to work together and prevent crime occurring. Andrew from the council, so I know there'll be some queries and questions, Andrew, and Carl from Allied Alarms will be covering off about the fog cannons, because there's been a considerable take-up. So we'll ask each of our presenters to stand up and talk to you, and then we'll go through a Q&A. David, we're in your capable hands.
Okay. Yes, I'm Dave Hind. I'm the community sergeant and look after youth aid. I've been in the job at 31 years now. So I see a lot of good stuff, and unfortunately I see a lot of bad stuff. So crime trends at the moment, you probably see a lot of news about ram raids in Auckland and in Christchurch. Christchurch is pretty much under the hammer with a lot of stuff going on with youth up there, and it's starting to slowly drift south into Timaru. We have a pocket of about 5 youth offenders. In the last couple of weeks, they stole 3 cars and they targeted rural areas around Aoraki. One was Mayfield and Rakaya, Methven, and they pretty much ram raids. They were special brands, so they got in there, the hammer and smashed the windows, got in there, and didn't really take a lot of stuff, but just caused a hell of a lot of damage. And a couple of fog cannons, I think one fog cannon went off, which is quite impressive to see. So they went there very long, got out, and we eventually caught them. So Timaru being a small place, we know pretty much all our youth offenders. We get to know them and put them through the youth process. So at the moment they're going through youth court, and it goes to FGC, and it goes back to, so we set a plan and sort of a wrap around trying to sort them out. So as far as crime prevention goes, just a few wee notes here. Does everyone train their staff and rehearse plans for the worst scenarios? Like, it's all about, I know banks probably do. It's quite important that your team knows exactly if something happens, what to do. So you should be rehearsing plans, exit plans, all the time. Well, you know, for us at police, we've had people turn up, you know, samurai swords at the front counter. So we have our own plans, what we have to do. We're a bit more secure now because we never used to engage the police station. These people just come flying into the station. I had my Prado smashed up with someone come flying to the station, start ramming vehicles. So stuff does happen in Timaru, and that happened at the police station. Unfortunately, I did about $10,000 worth of damage to my new Prado I just bought. So I wasn't very happy. But you should be really having like a daily security checklist when you're open. So you're looking for signs going around, for any forced entries, and reporting any forced entries to police on the 105 line. And just checking windows and aisles are clear, so you're visible inside and outside your shop. And you keep your store locked until you're ready for opening. Closing time, you check your CCTV cameras and alarm systems are operating. You remove your valuables from view. You clear your till and leave open, and light up your entry and exit points. So there is a, I'll just have a print off a bit of a checklist there. Take one of those if you like it, but if you're doing that, it's all good. Pretty much the layout of your shop is quite important inside your shop. You want good visibility inside your shop, so have big posters across the windows for stuff. You want the public to be able to see inside, see what's going on, show these bloody sort of going on there, so they can ring the police on the 111. Really should have your checkout counter close to the door. Your cash register should be bolted to the counter. And any shelves, your shelves, so you want them low enough so you can see around the shop. So if they're too high, you lose that visibility. And any sort of blind spots, you really should have, mirrors so you can see those blind spots. There's some shops in town, I won't name them, but the visibility's not very good. There's a lot of little blind spots that they may get hit with shoplifters. Entry buzzer, quite good. You have someone buzzing coming in. And also the outside of your shop as well. Bollards, we spoke about that, and planter boxes just outside, just to prevent ramroads, that sort of stuff. Once again, there's a clear view through windows and doors. So you want your staff to see who's coming into your shop from the outside the street, and just making sure that it's not too sinister. CCTV cameras, I really recommend them probably inside and outside the shop. So it's good to have some outside, just in the open area, so you see what's going on. And we want sort of good quality cameras, like 4K, and about 8 frames per second. And they want to be in a position so we can see facial recognition, so there's no point, so we want to see their face, it's quite important. Shoplifting. How many people dealt with shoplifters?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How'd you find that? Dealing with them, are they cooperative or?
Yeah, they were actually relatively cooperative. I think it was a different person's approach. Like, I'm new to Timaru, so
Yeah.
they didn't see me around. So yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. So best thing is to ask them back, see if they cooperate. If they don't cooperate, don't chase them down the street or anything. Get a good description, pretty much from head to toe, direction of travel. If they jump in a car, get the rego. And if you're doing 111, the defenders on site, ring 111. It's instant. 105 is basically for they'll leave the scene altogether. But if they're in the area, ring 111, get us there.
So you'd be sure to take a picture of the offender?
Yep. So if you're in a position to take a picture, it certainly helps.
And the street intervention with them, if you're going to approach somebody and say, we know you've got something in the bag, we suspect you might have, I'd like to take your picture, do you have any objection to that? They say, oh hell no, don't take my picture.
I'll take it anyway. Just for us, really. Yeah. Powers to search. Can I look at your bag? Well, it's only a consent thing, so you've really got to ask them. Say, you can look in your bag. But once we reach on the scene, we'll probably arrest them and they search the bag, present to arrest. So But if you don't, to approach them, if they get aggressive, let them go. So don't point. It's all about safety. Safety. Looking after yourself. No amount of property is worth getting injured or in the worst scenario. I think in Auckland just recently, I see a dairy owner got to check with Hammers, but I'm not quite sure what the full scenario is. But so it's just not worth getting injured for. Trespass. So you can trespass anyone. That could be a youth, a child. You can do a verbal trespass, as long as you take a note of it, time, date, description, if you know their name, put in a log that you verbally trespass them. Best way is to, like a written trespass, you download those on the police site, as well as a written trespass notice that lasts for 2 years. As soon as you invite them back on, it's null and void, so it's history if you invite them back on. So your robbery. So survival tips really is, if someone comes with a gun or a knife, it's happened to me, so it's trying to stay calm as best as you can, so take a deep breath, Just do what you're told, really. Just don't be a hero, don't resist. It's a scary moment. I hope it doesn't have to any it, but being a policeman, I've been involved with conflict with knives and machetes and guns and stuff. It's probably not a good thing when someone puts a gun at you. So it's not a good feeling. But don't chase just once again, you haven't got CCTV footage, get a really good description, don't stare at them, just take a visual. Use things like this to get the height of the marker, where they come up to, like a print or something like that. And then you want to ring triple one as soon as you can. If you have an exit plan, you can get into a safe room at the back. That'd be quite good too. So just once again rehearsing the plan. What I'm going to do, robbers come in. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get the back, get hold of 111, get the police here as quick as possible. And then you want to stop people from entering for forensics. So it's basically, so we get the, look at DNA and fingerprinting sort of stuff. So we don't want anyone entering the shop, and if anyone witnessed it, we want them to stay around too to get their details so we can get a bigger picture. So just when to contact police is pretty much if the offender's present, the threatening staff refuse to leave, and non-emergencies is the 105. So that's basically the test already happened. We have suspicious behaviour because someone's come to the shop. We do have shop safe for sharing information. I don't know, some is on it, some aren't. So it's a Facebook membership, and it's really good. They've got CCTV footage. It's sharing information within the CBD, so that sort of does happen a lot. People are sharing information about offenders that come to Valentine's or even anywhere, and it goes on that page. Hey, do you know this person? And they say, oh yeah, somebody such and such. So other offenders in town would be sort of drug addict offenders who are sort of stealing stuff to order so they can fuel their habits. So the same names pop up. There's probably one that today's paper, who's one today's paper actually, who's quite a bad shoplifter, and he's pretty well known to the CBD. Well known to the CBD. But anyway, any questions about anything?
Yeah.
Trends. What trends are you seeing about the nature of crime?
Trends, as far as like behaviour, what they actually do, or I mean we still have people through distraction, I suppose. So I've been to jobs where they used to be kids distract people and play out. Well, I'm going to go over here, steal something, and because the staff like, oh, look at that kid buddy playing over there. Distractions, 2 or 3 going to change your room. You got to monitor those changing rooms, because a lot of shops have got all these tags tucked in behind the mirror. School holidays, classic time for school kids to hit shops, and that's what happens in the changing rooms. So you got 2 or 3 kids going in there and swapping stuff around. With the kids, it's probably more about fun and encouragement. With TikTok and all those platforms, that is really supporting what they do, because they get a bit of calamity on TikTok. Hey, look at me, I'm doing this, running in this shop here, and then people, the kids are going, oh wow, that's pretty cool. And that's what's happening. And unfortunately, these kids, it all comes down to parenting, really. The parents have control these kids from an early age, and come from broken families with family harm, drugs, alcohol. As this comes through the system, they got to 11, 12, 13. We've got these kids age 9 in Christchurch. fleeing police, and stolen vehicles.
And stolen vehicles.
Sorry?
So they flee police.
Yeah, at age 9. So we're down to, like someone that's a 9-year-old in the car. It's a death trap, basically. So it's sort of, you let him go and he keeps on speeding and he crashes, and worst scenario. And but that's how young these kids are. There's a trend, that's and they're putting on to social media. So
you got rid of the gang headquarters. Are the gangs still here? What's happening there? Are they still organising?
well, that's just got properties. So if you've got property for sale, be wary who you sell it to, because it's really good. The council come on board with the police, and that is, it's going to be ugly with rebels set camp here. There have been a lot of drugs coming to this town, and so good on the council for doing what they did, and conjunction with the help of the police. And people dream in 12 months, 2 gang headquarters dropped to the ground. I was in the 90s. I was dealing with those fade out against them in the road nights. So I've gone that far back, but never say never. These gangs, they're in Christchurch. They're sort of itching to get a bit of the slice of the pie down here. They see a market. The road nights sort of pretty much gone. So yeah, just if you're a bit worried about someone trying to buy some property, and they'll probably go for rural property, I'd say. So that's still out there looking. So just be very bet them still coming to town. So yeah.
Just on that, we don't have a shop, but we run a building yard out of our rural property, and we have a building yard in town.
Yeah.
What we're seeing now is people are putting up drones over these properties to scope what we've got. Can I shoot that drone out of the sky? Because I'm keen.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. We've drones floating over the top of this cop shop as well, and I feel like doing the same thing. But you probably can't. You probably won't tell us.
It is becoming real increasingly popular out where we live, and in Southburn, and they're talking about some very large drones.
Yeah.
That could be from Southburn, and it's driven from the state highway, so that's come a long way.
Yeah. What sort of time is it? Night time?
Night time.
Yeah.
Just flying around your farm, having a look at your stuff. I mean, we've got cameras, we've got the dog, we've got the gate shut. I think that is a pretty good deterrent, but
Yeah.
when they get in the sky and start looking, and I know people have had their trailers stolen, and it's straight out of drone footage. It's just
Okay, we'll take a note of that. So, is it the weekends or during the week, or?
all times. It's
All times. There's
on
no rules.
Facebook pages, and it's just random. And I'm pretty much taking photos of random cars too, because you know who lives in the area. They're always parking up.
Yeah.
What they do too is they walk in and say the car's broken down. Well, they're just bullshit.
Yeah.
Instantly on your property looking at what you got.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just don't know what to drive really.
Okay, I will take a note of that, and I'll pass it on to Intel.
Yeah.
You know what's going on.
It is pretty common.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're allowed to fly over a property, are you?
No, there'll be some regulation there, I'm sure. It's, I mean, I've turned up with, car crashes next to everybody's drones sitting on the top of my head, then he's got to taking pictures of what I'm dealing with. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just not on, eh?
Well, it's just technology.
Yeah, it is.
Using this stuff now.
Yeah. Yep.
I guess from our point of view, being in restaurants, we quite regularly have people come in, or police come in asking to view our CCTV footage, and there's a really big discrepancy around town of what owners think they should or should not have to release to police when they come in asking for CCTV. Is there any actual regulation around what's required when you guys ask for stuff?
We're sort of asking my consent, really. We thought we'd sort of try to work with what's happened. So we were asking your consent of, hey, can we get your, I mean, the other option would have to do a search warrant to seize it, but if you can offer that for consent, that's all good. But if you don't, it sort of doesn't really help our investigation as to, so it's about working together.
Yeah, I think most people are pretty happy.
Yeah, I don't think
Just
I don't have
during
any
the day,
issues,
how it takes them to get it out.
Yeah, most people, yeah. Yeah, so, no, it's just, yeah, consent, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
So I'll ask Andrew from council to come and talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts and maybe some questions around those bollards.
Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
hi everybody, I'm Andrew Dixon, I'm Group Manager of Infrastructure at Council. So yeah, I guess our role is about outside the shop, I guess, we're in the actual street areas. Before I forget, I'll just reinforce Dave's point there about the anonymous buyers coming in, and we are aware of a few, who sort of, I guess, approaches to business, building owners in particular, from anonymous, usually through solicitors, in the North Island. So yeah, we are a little bit aware of that, and just yeah, if you do get approached, you know, we're definitely interested to know, because we believe that it's a particularly gang activity trying to retrench themselves back into Timaru. So, and it's interesting they're doing it in the CBD. You know, it would certainly make it harder to demo that building. So yeah, there are some that I'd love to demo.
So can we talk about it?
So, yeah, in regard to, we are aware of, I guess, the perception of ram raids, and there is definitely a risk of ram raids. It is sort of approaching Timaru in the CBD. And so a number of businesses have come to us and said, look, we'd like to look at bollards to prevent those. We take each one on a case-by-case basis, to be honest, and it is difficult. We work under two key things here. Firstly, there's the whole CBD and the perception of it. We're trying to make it into a happening place where people want to be, increase foot traffic and all that. So you know, there's a lot of time, money getting invested into that. And so the last thing we want to see is the CBD looking like a war zone. And we have with bollards, roller doors, everything like that. That's not inviting, and it's contrary to everything we're trying to achieve. The second side of things is legislation. So roads are a public space under legislation. It's very strongly protected. We are, as council, we are only the custodians of it. We don't own it. And so there are a lot of rules around what you can and can't do. Effectively, anything in the road that's installed, and this includes the footpath, becomes a chattel of the road. And so immediately, if you install a bollard in the footpath, it becomes public ownership. Simple as that. So the other thing we can't offer you a lease. We're not allowed legally to lease areas on the road. The best we can do is give license to occupiers, which can be cancelled at any time. So just be aware that if you're looking at putting stuff on the road, you're basically relinquishing the ownership of it and the control. And from our side, of course, we take control of it, and we're responsible for it ever after. That's the other issue. When shops change, we're left with these structures that are in the road. So I'm not ruling it out though. One thing you've got to be really innovative in how you do it. And that's we mentioned planter boxes as a way of doing it. The other thing is you could probably double up as bike stands, for instance. We're trying to encourage electric transport into the CBD, bike stands. You can make pretty substantial bike stands, which might serve the purpose. So you've got those options there. You can do some sort of like raised platform areas. We're in the process of looking at our CBD and widening footpaths, and that's raising up platform to make it more difficult for the vehicles to come in over the top. There's certain heights that vehicles, will just stop. So it is about being that, a little bit innovative in how you do it, but just say it is a case-by-case basis, and you do have a lot of legislative requirements, and also bylaws which support that legislation as well. So certainly we're willing to look at it, but also look at what you can do inside your shop. Put the bollards at the entrance to your shops inside. They don't have to be on the road. So I know that can be a bad look from your shop perspective, but equally it's a bad look from the public perspective as well when they're on the road. So think about that idea as well. Put them in that way. You might be able to double up something there. That's about all I have to say. Is if you can't really give you the do's and don'ts, because it is on that case by case basis.
So Andrew, probably a particular question, I mean, and it might be a David question as well. Are there particular types of stores that are much more likely to be ram raided and have been targeted?
Oh, I think through the country, I think vape shops have seemed to become a target. Around here, like I said, there's a service station, Mayfield, and a store in Brickeye.
Sports apparel as well. Sterling Sports got hit in Ashburton.
Right.
Yeah, they did.
It's a whole bunch of hats and shoes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's no sort of, it could be any sort of shop really, depending on who the kids are and what their agenda, what their motive is. But yeah, certainly vapes seem to have got very popular with the young ones. We've got more vape shops in Canterbury now, so how many vape shops? Five, maybe six.
Right.
Yeah, so they could get targeted in the future. Yeah, it is possible. But as far as the CBD, it's been a while since we've had. We used to have a lot of smash and grabs in the 90s. Yeah, it used to be quite common before the people got more crime prevention aware. The sailors come for the boats and do it in the naughties. But no, it's been a while. And now we've got cameras, but I don't know if you're actually aware. There's cameras everywhere in the CBD. It's really good, and they're really good cameras. They're really upgraded to we can zoom right across the bay, all around the bay area, up and down North Street from outside the station, and they're really good quality cameras.
Monitored?
They're recording and they are monitored in the weekends. So probably like your Friday nights, Saturday nights when there's not a lot of foot traffic in downtown Timaru now at night time, with a lot of our bars gone and so we don't have the foot traffic anymore. We've got 3 bars which kids go to, and but other than that, so it's only Friday, Saturday nights of community watch where they have a monitoring, jump in there and do a good job.
Controllable too, they can set it up.
They can turn right around and zoom around. So it's we've had a car, the odd car gets stolen. We had a car stolen on top of the Kitman car park there, so we can monitor where the car goes through Sefton Street. You can see that, so it's all recorded. So we can just go back and so the station now, we have a whole wall basically now of monitors, of cameras everywhere. So we've come a long way to where we were. So so that's good crime prevention thing. So we used to have a lot of urinators down the main street, but that doesn't happen.
So Andrew, probably last question is, who did the shop owners go to if they want to find out about bollards and things like that at council?
Okay, we're a little bit under resourced at the moment, so certainly talk to our land transport team. They're probably your first port of call. And I'll get a name and I'll give you Wendy, because I think it's good to have a particular contact.
Yeah, because there have been a number of requests. So.
Yeah, the position's vacant at the moment. So.
Okay, so if we can have a name, fantastic.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Okay, so Carl, you're up next and you're going to talk about fog cannons.
Yes.
And I think, when do you want your little video played?
I might just speak a little bit and then we can perhaps do that.
Perfect.
So good morning, I'm Carl from Allied Alarms. Thanks for having us along and being here. I've been with Allied since end of 1999, so I've been in the industry for a wee while. Allied's celebrating our 40th year in business locally this year, which we're excited about. So we obviously look after anything to do with electronic security, so security alarms, CCTV, like the fellas have been speaking about this morning, but namely fog cannons, obviously with today's on the agenda. So you may or may not be aware that the government has what is called a fog cannon subsidy scheme in place, and it has been extended. What that scheme effectively allows for, there's effectively 3 criterias that you need to fit into the box, so to speak, to be able to be supplied a subsidy for a fog cannon. First thing is your business entity has to have no more than 2 sites. So no more than 2 buildings. You have to have no more than 5 employees, and your business has to have a street frontage. In our experience, with the whole street frontage thing, if you were in an arcade, for example, come talk to me and I will talk to MB on your behalf, and a lot of times they would be accommodating towards say an arcade or as having a street frontage. So that's sort of the 3 main criteria. What we have found is with this, what the subsidy scheme effectively allows you to do is, if you fit into those 3 boxes ticked, you're given a voucher, and you're supplied a voucher which gives you up to $4,000 including GST to be spent on security measures, being a fog cannon system. Sadly, there are many, not in this region, because we look after this region, but sadly there are lots that magically can do a fog cannon for just under $4,000, surprise, surprise, and we would say wrong product for the job. It's been done the cheap and nasty way and fallen under the fog cannon scheme. So we're probably a bit more, not probably, we are a lot more old school than that we feel like the subsidy, often that isn't enough to do the job properly. But we would say that it goes a very long way to doing the job properly. We don't get into buying something off AliExpress that isn't the right product for the job and doing it all under the guise of the subsidy for the magic amount. We go out and look and see, because every individual site is quite specific as to what they actually need to do the job properly. As far as the fog cannon functionality is concerned, there's really 2 things that it protects, or aids to protect. One is real people. So real people behind the counter serving people in the front, in public, facing the public. So, i.e. you have a button under your counter that you press, or there might be, if that's your safe zone, as you were speaking about earlier, you might have a button that you press in there. So if some plonker's coming in, get out there into your safe zone, hit the button, fill the place up. Any of the fog cannon installations that we do that have the reason why they're going is to protect real people behind the counter. If the counter's got all of these products in behind here, cigarettes, vapes, whatever might be in there, or whatever products that you might have in your store, we see lots of fog cannons that are installed that it targets protecting that product. We really have a different viewpoint on that. If the fog cannon's going in to protect real people, we typically install the fog cannon on the public side of the real person behind the counter and blow the fog out towards the way that the person's come in aid to try and almost startle the person, and now you can't see the person that you're going for, and clear off the way that you came from, please. So that's sort of option 1 that it protects for. The other thing, I mean, I think fog cannons are great for that, but they're not the be-all or end-all solution. Like you were describing before, practicing your routine, having the safe zone that you can go to, that's great as well. So they're really, it works in with a whole lot of different processes that you might have in your store. The other thing that fog cannons are great for, that guys were speaking to earlier, is the smash and grab aspect of the system. So in order for the fog cannon to be able to trigger when someone's trying to break into your store or smash into the front of your store, the fog cannon in its own right can't activate with that, it needs to be activated by another means, i.e. an alarm system. So what we typically do with that, if the site's already got an alarm system, we would install the fog cannon system. It would normally have buttons that we were speaking about before to protect the real people, and then the client may choose to then integrate the fog cannon with their security alarm system. What we always do, again, call us old-fashioned, the last thing that you want is when one of your staff's coming in to turn the alarm off in the morning and they're a bit slow or bump the number and all this, next thing they've got the lemon shot full of fog. So it needs to actually be able to work in real life as well. So again, this is why we don't sell a kit and good luck with that. We come out and look and design and actually design a solution for what you need. We always try and look, well, where's the keypad for the alarm? Okay, maybe that needs to be shifted a wee bit so it's not in the zone of the actual shot where the fog cannon's viewing. The other thing that we always fit, let's say we had a fog cannon in here, we would fit another sensor up in the ceiling in here, which we call a qualifier detector. So if the security alarm system sounded, which I'll show you a demonstration on shortly, if the security alarm system sounded, let's say it was the service station, and it happens to be a bird that the mechanics left flying around in the workshop. You don't want the fog cannon in the main retail shop going in the weekend. So we install a qualifier detector up in there. So the functionality of that is the security alarm system sounding, the existing alarm system that you've already got. That could be from the back workshop or someone coming in or breaking into your office, whatever it is. But as soon as you go out into the area that you're wanting to protect from your smash and grab, be it chainsaws, anything retail, as soon as that qualified detector is triggered, then bang, it will fill the place up with fog. Interesting point is we actually have a lot of fog cannons even before this whole subsidy and the retail aspect to it. For people that have classic car collections and all of these sorts of things, so insurance is great, but a lot of stuff are actually irreplaceable. So, or art collections and things, we have a lot of fog cannons for that. Oh, this is, I have sought the client's permission too. This is from Caltex up in Mayfield, which Dave was speaking to earlier. So this fog cannon was installed as part of the subsidy scheme. And yeah, these guys broke in and thankfully they didn't stay very long once the fog cannon went off, just to get some, so you sort of understand the space. The area is roughly about 10 metres by, it's about 10 metres by 9, but the ease of mass, I'm going to say 10 by 10. So that's 100 square metres. The important aspect, and again this is why it's really important to use the right fog cannon for the job, the ceiling height is actually about 4 metres in there. So we're now talking about not square metres, you're talking about cubic meterage. So this is a roughly about 400 cubic metre space. If you just note the window that the video camera is looking at, that you'll see, this was taken about 2 in the afternoon. So you see that window, it's about 11 seconds if you time it. You can't see daylight in there anymore, you can't see your hand in front of your face anymore.
Steam frame.
Steam frame. So they do really work, but as I say, that fog cannon is designed for a 400 cubic metre of space. We've got clients that we have, so that's actually a relatively big unit. We've actually got clients that we have multiple fog cannon units in, because that's actually what's required for their space. So to do the system properly in this sort of environment, the clients probably invested another $2,000 or $3,000 of their own funds in addition to the fog cannon scheme to do that properly. If they simply just wanted a fog cannon that is press the button because you're wanting to protect real people behind the counter, you probably, that one probably needed a slightly bigger unit, but you probably can do it for around that subsidy figure. So that's, and we've got some clients that we've installed them for that they haven't been too bothered about the whole smash and grab thing. It was really more designed protecting real people behind the counter, and with that and they needed to be able to do it under the subsidy scheme from a funding point of view. So we've used the appropriate, effectively the biggest size machine that we can to get it in the subsidy scheme for them, but it's definitely not designed as a wipe out the whole shop because it's simply not big enough for it. But it does, you know, if some plonkers coming in hit the button and try and push them out towards the door that they've come from, definitely ticks a lot of boxes for that. But if, in our opinion, if you want to do fog cannons properly, it's use the right size unit for the job, and that's how you end up getting results like that actually work. Probably some of the questions that we get asked quite a lot is, what's this fog going to do to the products and such like that are in your shelves? It's probably one question to be on your mind. Again, there's lots of different, I'm going to call them cheap and nasty products out on the market which we don't use. All of the effectively what it is a it's actually a glucose based product that's used, and the product that we use is a food grade product. We've got some shops in town that have a lot of glass around the place for display cabinets and things, and then one of the question was, this going to make, everyone thinks of a fire extinguisher. Have you ever seen a CO2 powdered fire extinguisher go off? Error of a mess. Not like that. There is no white out mess. Like some jewelers stores, they sort of, is this going to have a big mess? And we say, well, you're cleaning your cabinets down a lot. I said, I'd be lying if there was no residue. There will be, but it's very much a bit of a wipe down off glass. But as far as damaging to your products, not with the products that we use.
Lovely. Okay, any questions?
How long does that fog last?
How long does it last? That example there that I was using, they effectively have a bladder of the glucose product in them. So when the fog cannon deploys, it really comes down to the size of the space and how long we have to run it for. In that case there, that bladder will have probably about 2 more uses left in it. So from a cost point of view, you probably want to budget about $50 each time you hit the button.
Well, actually, that question's really pointed at if you've got shop floor customers.
Oh yes.
And you've got screaming women, babies, various things. And 15 minutes later, they're still standing complete white out.
Yep.
How long does
it last for? Yeah, gotcha. Quite a long time.
A lot of screaming.
You've got time to let the kids get out.
When we test them, we as part of this whole thing, first one that we tested, going, holy gosh, we're going to need to have a great big fan to clear this out, because again, call us old fashioned, we don't put them in and hope for the best. We run it, test it on our own test bladder, and yep, it's doing everything it needs to do. So we actually have a great big fan to clear them. But if you had a front door, the best thing you can do to clear them out is airflow. So front door, back door, open her up, and yep, it might take half an hour to clear it out. Yep.
It's good if you've got natural circulation.
Yeah, natural circulation helps. Yeah.
Narrow store.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you've got a store that's got one front door and no back door, it'll take go down the shop and get a coffee. Yeah.
Is the number of employees that you need for the subsidy too low? Because I would have thought 5 would discount
I
a lot.
personally think 5 is quite low. We actually worked with MD, it was about a year ago when they were first starting to get this, they came to the likes of us. And that was one thing that I said, I felt that was quite low, just thinking about a mum and dad business.
Because it's targeted, I guess, originally dairy owners and
Yes.
service stations, but
Yeah.
if you look at places like Front Runner and River Sport and
Yeah.
any hospitality
Yeah.
outfit. would
What
have
we
more
find,
than that.
I mean, one thing that I said to Andy at the time, a lot of, if it's targeted at your, you know, your front runners, your Sterling Sports Shop and your corner dairy and those sorts of things, well, the corner dairy is probably not too bad because a lot of them tend to be family run.
And they'll have.
Yep, and they
One
might only have one employee. So yeah, there's a way probably that goes on. But yeah, I
Any
personally,
cafe would have 5
yeah,
to
a
10
cafe exam would have more because they, especially any shops that are open, in your hospitality, we have to speak to this, you've got, if you're open during weekends and all of these things and extended hours, there's a lot more people. Yeah, yeah. All I would say with any of that, if you were thinking about it, come and talk to us because we do have contacts at MB that we can actually talk to them on your behalf. And I'm not saying that they'll just give it to anybody, but certainly if someone, you know, if there had been a risk that was close by, then certainly can speak to them. But yeah, I personally think the 5 is quite low.
So Carl, the cost of that unit there, we need 2.5 of those units,
Beg your pardon?
those units that are there.
Yeah.
And the size of our store, we need about 2.5 of those units by the look of things.
If you wanted to do smash and grab properly, then yes. But I would say where's your smash and grab risk would be through the front of the store. So I was thinking of Stafford Street. So doing a store like yours, yes, you would need quite a lot of units to do it, to do the whole store. So a lot of times you then actually go, righto, well, where's the risk? The risk is the coming in off the front. So let's actually position them. I wouldn't be positioning them right at the front because if someone can get in and get past it, so you really want to be, and again, this is why you've got to come out and actually design it. I would be going, well, let's aim for from the front half of the shop forward, and rather than having the output of the fog cannon blowing down from the ceiling, you pick a wall or a column or somewhere that you can actually mount and actually blow them back towards the front of the shop. Yeah.
So yeah, the cost of that unit, so
Yep.
4K is the subsidised
Yep.
buy.
Yep.
What's the cost of a unit like that?
Well, again, the client supplied and installed with panic buttons integrated onto their existing alarm. These would be very much estimates because every site's different how you get wiring and things around. They've probably invested $7,000 in doing that properly.
So $7,000, well, so the total $7,000 on that.
Yeah. Well, then in your case, you could need a couple of them to do it properly. Yeah. Just because your store's, I know your shop because my wife comes in there and buys stuff all the time. Don't know why that is. Yeah. You need a few of them out the front.
So the practical implications are that when you've got a sort of responsibility of the store owner, if that thing is set off and you've got a store full of pregnant mums, various people who can't navigate a store that's filled with stock, and it's completely wiped out, you're in big trouble with it.
Yep. They're not the be all or end all. Yeah.
But think of the alternative though, if you have someone in there
Yeah.
holding you up with a knife or a gun.
Yeah.
That's also very stressful. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing they would be pretty freaked out at that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to pick their targets for shooting them, they just shoot randomly, so the chances of shooting them.
Having a safe exit and practicing your plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just conscious of time.
Yep.
Are there any questions for any of the other presenters up at the front here? And just a note, these are our quarterly coffee catch-ups. If you've got ideas of areas that you want covered and items discussed, then let us know because we're more than happy to put them on. But I'll ask Gordon to just say a couple of words of thanks from the presenters. And do stay around and pick up David's sheet that we've got here.
Thank you, Wendy. David, Andrew and Carl, thank you for coming along today and presenting to us. I think this is a very hot topic at the moment. And you know, when we see good genuine people coming in and just second hand shops and bargaining over a $5 pair of jeans, we know there's hardship out there, and unfortunately we're seeing more and more of that at the moment. So, you know, we know there's pressure on, and unfortunately when there's people short of cash, they do some stupid things. And I'm not saying that's the whole reason, but So, you know, we do appreciate the information you give us, and hopefully we can keep our people safe and keep businesses going well. So thank you for coming along and sharing your thoughts.
If you've got individual questions for your businesses, then grab these gents because they're here for the next, I put them till 11 o'clock. So you can grab them between now and 11. Thank you very much.